If someone's thinking about starting a podcast, what advice would you give them?
Um, so it's sort of like twofold advice, right? And one is you're going to have to just go for it eventually, right? If you wait around until you've got everything perfect, you're never going to do anything ever in your life, right? You know, eventually you just sort of have to sort of like take that leap and step off into like empty air, and you don't know where you're going to land. You don't know what's underneath you, you know. Just in general, you've got to be willing to do that. You've got to be willing to take that risk, and that's sort of like advice number one, right? If you're wanting to start a podcast, it's like eventually, well, if you want to start a podcast, you have to actually start a podcast. You have to get guests, and you have to come up with a name, and you have to buy microphones and all these things, right? But if you wait until you come up with the perfect name, and you wait until you get the best microphone, and the best recording software, and you hire an editor, or, if you're going to go that route and do an edited podcast, right? And you get 10 guests that are all great guests, right?
And a full room setup and
Yeah, you're
perfect
never going to do
lighting.
that, right? You see, like, I'm in a studio apartment with like my bookshelves behind me, you know, right? And like it's a good enough setup and it does the job, right? Um, and then the other piece of advice is going to be, don't rush to monetize it, and don't rush to sort of like make coworkers of your friends. And that's sort of, I say this, right? Doing the podcast with like two really good friends, you know, but it's just like, I don't consider Wesley and John coworkers. I consider them friends, even though we are sort of making decisions. And like I said, we're trending towards the like side hustle business side of things, don't immediately go into it being like, well, I want to monetize this, and I want to like turn this into a side hustle, and I want to turn this into a business, and we need to have sponsors, and it's just like, maybe just spend time with your friends and hang out, and then also do this podcast thing with them, and don't ask too much of it from them, because your friendship relationship should be like reciprocal and based on like the shared act that you both give and receive from each other. And whatever that looks like for you, right, that's good, right? But if you're in such a rush to sort of like turn it into a business and turn it into something that makes money, I think you're gonna miss out on like what makes it fun, which is like, for me, it's like I'm talking about like my favorite thing in the world with like two of my best friends, and then we bring on these guests that are just like such cool people. And then I get these other friends of mine from this community, and I get them to engage with me too, and I'm asking questions, because I know that, right, like Chadwick Robinson wants to hear this answer, you know, and that's way more fulfilling for me than any ad revenue or Patreon sub is ever going to be, because you don't, like, not all of your hobbies need to make you money, you know? Like, if somebody came to me with a shoe contract tomorrow and it's like a brand that I don't like, right? But they're offering me money to be an ultra runner for them, which they wouldn't because I'm slow. Um, like, I don't think I would take it, because I don't need ultra running to be the thing that makes me money. I don't need it to be my business. I want it to be the thing that lets me escape from all the things that give me stress from work, right? Like, I work 40 hours a week, and I want something that's for me outside of that. And I don't want to be worried, well, if I don't have this performance at this race, I can't pay rent, or something like that. Let me leave that behind, and let me make ultra running this thing that just sort of like, even though, at races I'm often in pain, or if I'm often struggling, I'm hurt, like I'm complaining, right? It's this thing that brings me just like truly what feels often like unlimited joy, like so much joy that it should almost not be legal, you know? Um, and yeah, so that would be my advice. It's right. Like, don't rush to turn this thing that you love, that you want to share with others, that brings you this joy. Don't rush to turn into a business where you're worried about paychecks and you're worried about keeping the lights on, like, let it be you sharing the thing that brings you joy.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree. Like, this podcast, I don't make any money on it at all. Um, it's just something I literally do for fun. I got my little blue Yeti mic going on over here.
Mm-hmm.
Got my laptop set. Like, if you saw the setup right now, it's not professional at all. It's just literally something I do for fun. And Yeah, I definitely agree with it. And it's just something I love. I love talking to other people about ultra running, or whether it's the business side or the trail running side, like whatever it is, like it's something I love. And
Hmm.
I feel like you shouldn't go into something or into a podcast with the intent of, okay, how am I going to make money off of this? Like, I already know I'm not going to make any money off this. I don't plan on making any money off this. I'm just doing it for fun.
Hmm.
So yeah, I definitely agree with you on that.